911. What are you? That's me! That's me! That's me!
Hey everybody out there in real Violand, it's your old pal, main ripper behind the freaking trigger. It's Germ T Ripper. And of course, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris. Ruthless Chris, tell these people what time it is.
Real fucking vile time.
Holy guacamole. And of course, we can't have real vile time without the Tower of the Hour, the Princess of Power, Kelli the Killer Miller.
Hey.
And she says, hey.
I said, hey.
Well, of course, it's Shark Week here at Real Violand, and we can't wait to dive into some wild and wet movies that are bound to have you scrambling for the shore. Our feature presentation for this week is none other than the wackiest shark movie I've ever seen. It was so bad it made me want to go back to drinking. It's called... This movie is called Cruel Jaws, and it is cruel to the senses.
It's so bad.
I think if you enjoy bad movies, you will find something about Cruel Jaws to enjoy. But before we get to that, what's everybody been up to? We always start with you, Chris. Why don't we start with Killer Kelli? What you been up to, girl?
Well, for the holiday weekend, we went camping. That was a good time. I'm pretty sure we were surrounded by coyotes. Could hear them howling in all directions, so that made for a kind of uncomfortable sleep. But I mean, it was creepy. Me and Chris went out there into the fucking woods. We were the only ones in this entire campground, so we had like the entire run of the place. Which there's only like three camp spots in this place anyway, and it's like in the woods in the middle of nowhere. And, yeah, we had the dogs. We each had our own tents and shit. We started hearing the fucking coyotes, and we're like, what the fuck? It probably didn't help. We were listening to this other podcast we listened to called Scared to Death, where they basically just tell campfire stories. So we're sitting in the pitch black, listening to campfire stories, going for a walk, scaring the fucking shit out of ourselves, listening to coyotes howl. And I don't know, it was a fun night. Other than that, yeah, I mean, regular 4th of July festivities. I think we crashed somebody's work party to go watch the fireworks.
It wasn't somebody's work party. We ended up, because Kelli just zigged in behind this gate while these cars were going in, and I followed.
I was just trying to get to the river where we could see the fireworks.
Sewer and water, or 4th of July celebration. So they had they were right on the waterfront, like right across the river where they shoot off the fireworks, and they had a bunch of seats and stuff out, and they were all hanging out and whatnot. No one had the radio hooked up, so I had to play DJ on that, and I played the cheesiest America songs ever. It was a fun night.
You know, you played fucking Born to Be American on loop.
No, I played God Bless the USA.
Proud to be an American. I'm proud to be an American.
It's God Bless USA. Then I played Born in the USA.
Oh, yeah.
Born in the USA.
You know, your typical American.
And then I tortured her with Party in the USA, which she was not too happy about.
But yeah, other than that, I've been tackling a mountain of laundry, which is great. Yeah.
The camping was interesting. It did sound like we were surrounded by 30 coyotes, and we were in a horror movie scenario. Like, we rented a campground by a lake. There's 3 other campgrounds that are supposed to be there. No one was in the other 2, or there were 3 total. No one was in the other 2. So come dark, we had this whole park and lake and all this to ourselves, and we're wandering around and having a fire and scaring the crap out of ourselves. But come middle of the night, we just start hearing all this howling, and it was all directions, and there was so much of it where it was what the fuck. So yeah, she's acting like we freaked ourselves out. We did, but the howling was goddamn real. So I thought we were about to be in a real horror scenario.
You lost track of me when you said "come night," and I was like, "What?" That's the only part I heard. But besides that, all I did was on 4th of July was watch a few movies and enjoyed some peace and quiet before, my neighbors in Chicago started blowing up fireworks everywhere all night long. But yeah, that was my one day off this week, which is weird because usually I'd be working 12 hours. But anyways, let's get on to Shark Week. Holy guacamole. I don't typically movies, so this has been an exercise for me, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to start this one off, I think, because I don't usually start this off.
Okay.
And I'm not going to talk about a shark movie, or at least a movie that typically would be bantered about on a Shark Week themed horror podcast. Maybe it would. I don't know. But it is 1979's Lucio Fulci's masterpiece of gore. And in the movie that made me a fan of Lucio Fulci's, Zombie, aka Zombie 2, aka Dawn of the Dead 2, specifically for one scene. And if you know what I'm talking about, which if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, there's one scene in this film that makes this qualify for Shark Week. And it is in the movie for I don't think there's any apparent reason for this at all. There's a shark fighting a freaking zombie, and the zombie is biting the shark. It's ridiculous, and I'm like, whoever's playing the zombie, like, he's gonna die because it looks like a real shark. Yeah. I'm just like, why did they do this? I don't know. It's bizarre. It's wacky, and I mean, I love zombies so much. I love this movie. Also known as Zombie 2, also known as Dawn of the Dead 2. But I've never understood this scene, but I also love this scene. Like, I need the t-shirt, I need the lunchbox of that shark and the zombie fighting underwater. The zombie is biting the shark, but the shark is, I don't know if he was a well-trained shark. I should have studied the scene more before I decided to talk about it. But the shark just sort of the zombie while the zombie is attacking. But yeah, I love Zombie, so I would definitely give this 5 stars. And you can watch it on AMC Plus, Full Moon, and Pluto TV. Chris, it sounds like you've got some factoids to lay down on the crowd for the shark versus zombie scene in Zombie.
I got a little one. So the reason he did it was he had access to a guy who worked with sharks, but was also an amputee. So that's why his arm gets taken off at one point. He knew he could have like a really cool, realistic scene with that. So the guy didn't have an arm to begin with. He put a fake arm on him. It gets ripped off. And then the guy, like, I don't know if he was like, he worked directly with sharks. I don't know if he was underwater. Like, he worked with sharks in some capacity. It probably wasn't safe at all. But yeah, it's like, there's 2 scenes people always talk about when they talk about Zombie. And one is the splinter of wood through the woman's eyeball. And 2 is shark for, like, when you pitch it to people, it's usually the first thing they say is like, dude, in this movie, a zombie literally fights a shark, and it's a real shark. And you're like, all right, I gotta see that. And you're like, hey, it's only like 10 minutes in too. Like, I think that's like one of the first. No, it's like the second encounter with zombies. Like, the first one's when like the boat washes up, right?
And it really doesn't have anything else to do with any part of the film, but it's brilliant to watch. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see more zombie versus shark movies. They do everything else. Why not?
Right.
But I'm pretty sure that anybody with any sense nowadays, it would be all CGI. They're not going to use like an amputee and a trained shark to actually film a zombie fighting a shark ever again. This seems so unsafe. Kelly, are you familiar with this scene?
I am familiar with the scene. And yes, the movie's great. I'd also give it like a 4, at least 4.5, perhaps. But yeah, I am familiar with the scene. It's good.
How about you, Chris? If you were going to give Zombie a star rating, or at least Yeah, or at least the shark
5 all
versus
day.
zombie scene. Yeah, 5, same.
I mean, it's one of Fulci's masterpieces. You know, I mean, aside from even that scene, it is a solid movie through and through. Where a lot of these Italian films could be pretty wacky. The solid tone, cool zombies. You know, like they have like maggots dropping out of their eyes and like real maggots and stuff, and use real gut stuff. And you know, it's Fulci at his most, some of his most gory. Maybe not his most, but some of his most gruesome scenes are in that movie. So I recommend the shit out of it.
Absolutely. So if you haven't seen Zombie, it is streaming on Pluto, which is a free streaming service. Check it out ASAP. Let's keep the terror train a rolling. Killer Kelli, what you got for us first, baby?
Oh, I watched some dog shit fucking shark movies this week. I'm going to start with the first dog shit shark movie. God, this one was so bad. I think I told Chris a little bit about it, yesterday or something. Was that earlier? I don't know. But
I was on the way to the taco shop.
It's called Swim, starring Joey Lawrence, you know, from like, whoa. You know, whoa.
Blossom.
From Blossom, yes, that's
Blossom.
what it is. Yes, I haven't seen him since like the early 90s. But yeah, here he is.
Seen him since Blossom. I mean, does he still wear the leather jacket and the flannel tied around his waist with the knees?
Didn't he have a show for a little while with he was like one of 3 brothers that all looked kind of like him after Blossom? I don't remember the name, but I vaguely remember it. Anyway,
J-Lo trivia isn't great.
J-Law, that's how I have him written in my notes too, actually. Fucking J-Law. But yeah, so he pops up in this dog shit movie called Swim on Tubi, which is like Chris, when I was explaining it to Chris, it didn't dawn on me, but it's essentially Crawl, you know, the the crocodile movie. All right, J-Law, he's traveling separate from his family to their vacation home. The vacation home's somewhere in California, some beautiful 3-story coastal house that's like built on a cliff. This is important to how the movie, like, you know, the first level you walk in, there's like the I guess mud room and shit, and then there's a stairway that goes up to like the main floor where the living room and shit would be, and then it goes up top to like a 3rd floor. Well, anyway, J-Law and his family are they're traveling in separate cars. The family, you got the 2 kids, a daughter and a son, and grandpa with the mom. Mind you, the daughter and the mom, those actresses have to be about the same age. Like, I think the daughter might even be a little bit older. But anyway, they get to this beach house, and right away, like, before they even get there, they're talking to the landlord or the caretaker of the place on the phone. And she wants him to grab a package. And he's assuring her that the weather's fine. The weather is not fine. There's a huge fucking storm coming in, and the tide is rising a lot. Well, one of the opening scenes, he goes out to grab this fucking package, and the tide's rising, and he gets eaten by a shark. So now you know that, you know, sharks are fucking afoot, definitely. Like, the tide's rising. So, I don't know, as it's raining, J-Law is still traveling from San Francisco to wherever this fucking place is. I'm talking on the phone like, you guys gotta be safe. Dude, everybody is so overly dramatic in this movie. It's so bad. So somehow the shark gets into the lower level of the house once it starts flooding and stuff, and he eats like their repairman, and they go down there to look for him. For some reason, the whole fucking family goes down there to look for him. Oh, mind you, the son was banging has like a vacation girl that he bangs. She got bit by a shark, just going to be stupid. That was the dumbest, like one of the worst like wounds I've ever seen in a movie. It literally just looks like they took scab blood and drew it on with their finger. But she was like dying and like hyperventilating and shit. Somehow she's down there too. So they're all down in the basement and the sharks are fucking eating people. Dude, this movie gets so bad. All right. The people are so dumb. As the water is rising, there's so much I want to say though. As the water's rising, the shark is somehow like banging on the 2nd level door, like head pounding it. And you're like, there's not even water coming out from under the door. So like, how is he like jumping out of the water? And, like
tail slapping.
God, it's so stupid. And then like, mind you,
High five in the door.
there's a whole nother level to this house. For some reason, they're just hanging out on this bottom level, like dealing with the sharks when they could be upstairs. Well, J-Law gets there, fucking God. I don't want to get too far in this. I could ruin it because I doubt anybody's actually going to watch this piece of shit. Like, Grandpa's like, just leave me behind for no fucking reason. Like, they have a safe escape. Like, why are we leaving Grandpa behind? He just wants to go, I guess.
I'm going to watch it.
Oh, man. Really bad CGI sharks. Yeah, dude. J-Law comes in to save the day on his little kayak when shit's rising up to the house. It's so bad. Like, I laughed so many times in this. I don't know. I gotta give it 1 star, 1.5. But it was comical. It was comical for how fucking terrible it was. What year is this piece of shit? This is a brand new one, too. It's 2021, so not brand new. But yeah, Swim on Tubi. If you want to see some J-Law driving around while his family fights in the dumbest possible way, this is the movie.
Fair enough. I'm glad you watched it for us, Kelly. Salute to you. Taking one for the team because that doesn't sound like anything I want to put into my eyeballs. But Swim on Tubi, 1.5 stars at max. Chris, doesn't sound like you've seen Swim, but it sounds like you want to now.
I'll totally watch it. As you guys know, my penchant for dog shit. A cheap ripoff of Crawl with sharks and J-Law, as she calls him, Joey Lowe.
Sharks and Joey Lawrence. Whoa. Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. I've watched worse this week.
You have, I'm sure.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. But in the meantime, like I say, let's keep this train chugging along. And Ruthless Chris, what you been watching?
So I'm gonna go. I started out. This is something Kelly and I tried to watch together. She fell asleep. I ended up watching it on a projector in the backyard. This is a brand new movie called The Black Demons, 2023. Adrian Grunberg is the director. This one wasn't really a low budget movie, and it actually had a little bit of buzz. It just came out, and it was awful. I hated it. I hated it so much. Like, it was so pretentious and shitty. And it was one of those things where it was more about the message than really what was going on. But you have a coastal town in Mexico, I believe. Yes, it was in Mexico. And all the people that live in this town, they all work on an oil rig owned by this company, Nixon Oil, right? And they send this guy in who's going to go do the safety check on the rig. He comes into town. It's like a ghost town. There's not a lot of people left, and the ones that are left are not so friendly, and they're not really they're more the unsavory type, and they're like, what the hell? Last time we were here, there's restaurants, and this place was bustling and all that. He ends up going out to the rig. He leaves his family behind to go out to the rig and do the inspection. Gets out there, boat gets immediately attacked by a shark, a giant megalodon. And he's trapped on there, and then they find a way to get the family out there too, so they're stuck on there, and it's this whole thing where they're disrupting Mother Earth, so the land puts a curse on them and lets go this thing called the Blue Demon. It's one of those ones where you could tell that they really thought that they had some great writing, because there was not a lot of shark action. It was a lot more super dramatic scenes between people. And then the shark's supposed to be terrifying. It's knocking this fucking giant oil rig around, but they keep jumping in the water to work on stuff, and it doesn't get them. But yet it's killed the entire population of this fucking oil rig besides 3 people. Yeah, it's super heavy-handed, big environmental message. The acting is super hammy. It feels like it was almost written by an AI. It was bad. It pissed me off. I really hated it. But I will say it was at least filmed well. The special effects were cool. The shark looked cool. There was a little bit of gore here and there, and there was a cool sequence where a guy goes down in one of those diving bells to repair something, and the megalodon bites it, and you can see the teeth coming through and shit. I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't like it at all. It sucks that this was one that was actually paid to be watched. We rented it, and we were all jazzed on it. We set up a projector in the yard.
Yeah.
And, Yeah, like all this shit. We watched Watchers 2 before that, which ended up that rocked. And
That
then
was
we
fantastic.
said it was awful. So wouldn't recommend. 1.5 stars. This is like a brand fucking new movie. I think it's only been out for like 2 months.
Yeah, I think I rented it. I even paid like $4.99 for it.
$5.99.
What? Oh, fine.
Yeah. Don't recommend. Don't do that.
No.
I wouldn't even watch if it was free, and you know what I watch. So I started lowest of the tier, and then I'm going to go up on enjoyment scale, but it's going to be a dog shittier movies as I go. So it's going to be a woo.
So this was called Black Demon, and you had
The
to pay
Black
for
Demon.
it. The Black Demon,
Yeah.
and if it's streaming, you to rent on what, like Amazon Prime?
Prime. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And 1.5 stars. Big thumb down for pretentious. More message than there is actual shark excitement. So skip it.
None of it made sense. Is the other worst part.
What's up?
There was like no logic to what the characters are doing. None of it made sense. Like at the end, the family gets saved. I don't care about ruining this fucking thing, and I'm not ruining the actual end, but the family itself, like his family gets saved by the Mexicans that were trying to jump and kill his family. They drive out to the oil rig and pick him up, and they didn't even know. Like, how did they know something was happening in the middle of the ocean? But whatever.
They're mystical Mexicans, and they know how to save them. I just got canceled.
I just got canceled.
But anyway, yeah, 1.5 stars. Don't watch The Black Demon, and don't pay money for it on Amazon Prime. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about the first pile of crap I watched in preparation specifically for Shark Week. It is 2011's David R. Ellis teen kind of party film, Shark Night, aka Shark Night 3D. This movie, I'm guessing it played in theaters because it was in 3D, and I'm also guessing it came out around the same time as Piranha 3D and my Bloody Valentine 3D and all those fun 3D movies that were like wide release. This one, and I'm guessing because it's PG-13, it's not good. Well, just to give you a basic idea, what Shark Night 3D, or just Shark Night, however you want to put it, it's a weekend at a lake house in Louisiana Gulf. It turns into a nightmare. 7 vacationers, like young party people, young good-looking party people. They're subjected to shark attacks. At first it just seemed kind of random, and then as the story progressed, twist to it that this was actually the whole thing was a setup. It thought that it was smarter than it was, and the twist actually gave it actually more enjoyment. Like, I was like, oh well, that isn't as bad as I thought it was. So it almost had a cabin in the woods feel because it was like a whole big setup, but at the same time, it wasn't as smart as it wanted to be. I'm gonna look real quick just to see what I gave it, because I think I gave it like a really good score. Shark Night 3D, I actually gave it 3 stars. And I'm guessing specifically because of the twist that they thought it was really smart, and I thought it was okay twist that makes it elevates it past just being complete dog shit. And I think if it was R-rated and it had more gore, it could have been an actual 3-star. But I'm still going to go with 3 stars because that's what I gave it on Letterboxd. So whatever I was thinking at the time when I watched it, I'm going to stick with that. And the cast wasn't bad. There are some interesting casting choices. Dustin Milligan from Schitt's Creek is in it, and I like him. There are other young, good-looking people that do their best with what they're given. And the director did freaking the Final Destination. So it's like I just feel like this could have been better, and it wasn't complete dog shit. 3 stars. Have either of you guys seen Shark Night 3D?
I've not.
I went and saw it in theaters when it came out, and I remember nothing about it. You're right, though. It did come out in that like big 3D boom where everything had to be in 3D. And it did come out on the heels of the success of Piranha 3D. I think that's why I watched it. I was hoping for another Piranha 3D because that had such a fun sense of humor to it. It was just like a party movie in itself. You're like, it was just like just like the original Piranha. It was just like, this is just a blast. I remember it being disappointed at the time, but I was very young, so I don't know. I don't remember anything about it. I can't give a rating.
Fair enough. If you have any interest in checking out Shark Night 3D, it is streaming on Max. But don't say you watched it because I suggested it. I'm just giving it 3 stars because that's what I gave it at the time. There's got to be something that I liked about it. I can't remember it right now, though. But anyways, let's keep this train rolling. Killer Kelly, what you got for us next, baby?
All right. The next pile of dog shit that I watched is this one is also on Tubi and Freevee, starring Stephen Baldwin.
Hallmark of quality right there.
This is 2008's Sharks in Venice. And yes, it is what it sounds like. There are sharks in the fucking canals of Venice. This is directed by Danny Lerner, and I was looking at all the movies he's worked on. He's worked on a shit ton of movies, but as like a producer and shit. A lot of the shark movies, the crocodile, the spiders, octopus. He's worked on a lot of like the monster movies. A lot of I've heard of like Killer Rats, so I thought that was interesting. But this seems to be one of the few that he's directed that I'm seeing. So yeah, Cyborg Cop, Lethal Ninja. I don't know if you know. But anyway, this follows Stephen Baldwin. David is his name in the movie. David. He's a famous archaeological diver, kind of famous. He's also a professor. His dad dies kind of while diving, not kind of while diving, but while diving. And he was looking for some sort of illegal artifacts in the, canals of Venice in Italy. And strange circumstances surround his death. When they finally found his body, Baldwin looks at it. They're like, yeah, he died from a propeller. And Baldwin looks at it like, no, I'm an expert. That's not a propeller. That's a shark. They're like, there are no sharks in Venice. He's like, I know enough. That's a shark. Like, he is very pompous in this movie. And he kind of like whispers throughout the whole movie, like he's almost trying to do like a Batman voice, or something like that. It's weird as shit. I've never heard him do that in other movies. I don't know.
Well, the Baldwins all do that voice. Go watch a Stephen Baldwin movie.
This is a Stephen Baldwin movie.
Oh, okay. Then that makes
I never noticed it before.
Watch
but
Fled or The Usual Suspect.
Very, yeah, he talked like that throughout the whole thing. But
sex talk.
So yeah, he sees that his dad was attacked by a shark, and he's like, "I'm going to Venice to investigate." So he goes there, and he finds out his dad was looking for some shit. He automatically takes the dive down under the streets of Venice, where his dad was looking, and all his colleagues are getting eaten up by sharks, but not fucking Baldwin. He finds this weird tunnel that comes into this like Indiana Jones-esque fucking Temple of the Doom style, like that's not Temple of the Doom. The one with the booby traps and shit. That's
all of them.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. But Indiana Jones style place, and finds this like treasure. Apparently this treasure was some like fucking medieval shit that's been lost for centuries and centuries, and nobody's been able to find it, and that's what his dad was looking for. Well, from there, this turns into sort of an action flick because his dad was running from the mafia. Or no, the mafia was paying him to find all these goods and shit. Now Baldwin found it, and it becomes like, oh, fuck, we're going to kill Baldwin. And it was pretty bad, man. You got to give it a 2. It had plenty of action, but fuck, it wasn't good. The sharks were a big part of it because there's something that has to do with how the sharks got into the streets of Venice and the mafia. So
fair enough. 2 stars. If anybody wanted to watch Sharks in Venice, where could they check it out, Killer Kelly?
This is on Tubi and Freevee.
Oh la la! You don't have to pay to watch Sharks in Venice. That is
No,
wild.
you don't.
Probably better than Black Demon.
It probably is. I thought it was kind of entertaining. Honestly, I thought Swim was more entertaining than this one, but God, it was so goddamn bad.
Chris, have you seen Sharks in Venice?
No.
Neither have I, and I don't think I will. But
Nope.
that was it sounds like a lot of fun, Kelly, and 2 stars. It's on Freevee and Tubi.
Mhm.
Sharks in Venice. If you're gonna get high and or drunk and enjoy a movie, Sharks in Venice might be one to check out. But in the meantime, Ruthless Chris, what did you got for us, baby?
So I'm going to shift gears from Black Demon to Blue Demon. This is a 2004 movie by Daniel Grodnick. This has one of my favorite character actors in it, who's Jeffrey Fahey. You may remember he played the Lawnmower Man. This movie is not going to be for everyone. I'm going to tell you that right now. It has a Sci-Fi Channel original production level, but it has such a dry sense of humor. It's like low key hilarious, but if you're not looking for it, you might miss it. I laugh my ass off the whole fucking time. Like there's visual gags in the background, but they play it all very straight face, and you're not sure if they meant to do it or not. But there's so many they did, and like so many things that they snuck into the dialogue just to be like, what the fuck? And not only that, they brought in a great character actor like Jeff Fahey, and they made him a general. So like the whole movie is about the military is making these like weaponized sharks to protect our shores, and of course they just start eating our swimmers. But they make him a general, right? So like they make him like the cliche like 1980s. He's got like all the buttons, and he's got the hat under his arm. He's chewing on a big cigar. He never lights, flat top. And this dude like knows exactly what movie he's in, and he's like, I'm just gonna have fun with this. And he is chewing the scenery to the most hilariously dull way. The movie's worth watching just for him alone. And I know I'm in the minority in this because I'm looking on Letterboxd, and like I have friends that have given this thing a 0.5 star. But I had a fucking blast with it. I was laughing my ass off the entire time. The bad CGI sharks were fun. It was bloody. I'm pretty sure it's a made-for-TV movie. It could be a sci-fi original. It's hard to tell with all these Tubi shark movies. But I actually would recommend this if you like dog shit, like I do, and you can pull like humor out of like what you're watching, as opposed to being like, this isn't serious enough. I really liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Blue Demon. From everything you said, this does sound like a fun movie to watch.
Mhm.
I do like Jeffrey Leahy. I do love Lawnmower Man, and yeah, your description of the film sounds like it might be a good time. What if somebody wanted to watch this? You said it was on Tubi, Freevee.
Tubi, Freevee, but it's also free on YouTube.
Oh, well, there you go. You have no excuse to watch Blue Demon in preparation or because of Shark Week. You can enjoy some dog shit that will make you laugh and enjoy the day even more. And Chris, 3.5 stars. Man, oh man.
I probably might catch some flack for that, but I think if people have been listening long enough, they know what I enjoy. And if your like likes are aligned with mine, and like you kind of seek weird dog shitty movies and you get like a joy out of them, this one was a find. The next one I'm going to talk about blew my mind though. So when I get to that,
Okay.
very, very cool. That sounds exciting. I can't wait till we get to your turn again, because I want to know what's mind blowing. Because what I'm about to talk about was the opposite of mind blowing. This is 2013's Anthony Ferrante directed. It is everybody's favorite movie to watch and or hate. But I'd never seen it. I don't think Chris has ever seen it. I don't think Kelly's ever seen it. It is Sharknado.
I have never seen its entirety. I have seen bits and pieces, but never like sat down and watched it front to back. Yeah.
I did it for all of us. Now, this is the movie that kicked off this craze of like CGI shark, if I'm correct. I might be wrong, but I don't think like there was studio like purposely made bad shark movies before Sharknado. And this is a big cult hit. People mostly love this because it's so ridiculous. And similar to you giving Blue Demon 3.5 stars, I think I gave this like 3 stars just because it's seriously wacky and it's got a great cast, and they acted the hell out of this movie. And if you don't know what Sharknado is, it's a tornado with sharks in it. Freak hurricane swamps Los Angeles. Nature's deadliest killers rule sea, land, and air as thousands of sharks terrorize the waterlogged populace. Ooh. Yeah, I'd never seen this before, believe it or not, and I really have no interest in watching it again. But I'm glad I did, and I gave it 3 stars just because the acting is wild, is great. Acting is really well done, and there are some really fun scenes with chainsaws and sharks, and for that alone, I was like, yeah, okay, I may not watch it again, but I thoroughly enjoyed those scenes, so I gave it 3 stars, and I'm sure Sharknado is streaming everywhere. AMC Plus. Oh yeah, no, that's basically it. AMC Plus, which I'm sure means it's also on Shudder. But you guys, as I said, I don't think either of you seen it in its entirety. If you have, give your thoughts about Sharknado real quick.
Well, I haven't seen it. It's one of those things where, like, when it came out, it made such a cultural impact that, like, for some reason, I get lazy about that stuff.
Yeah, I think
6 of them, I'm like, holy shit. But Tara Reid's a big turnoff to me on a movie. Like, it's really hard for me to commit to watch an entire movie with Tara Reid in it. So I think that might have been why I've been lazy about it. But, I'll watch it one day.
Yeah, that's the way I always felt about it. Like, I'll watch it one day. Like, I don't really put the effort into watching it. It just looks like a ridiculous sci-fi original movie to me. So, which those are fun sometimes, but it's never anything that I really seek out, often. But yeah,
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that Ian Ziering, mostly known for, I think he's on Beverly Hills 90210, has the lead in this movie, and it was originally offered to Steve Guttenberg, and Steve Guttenberg refused it.
I would have watched it then.
He thought it was beneath him, and when it became this big cult sensation, as soon as Steve Guttenberg was offered another movie by the Sci-Fi Channel, Sci-Fi Original movie, he jumped at the chance. But that is La Valantula, I think, was the next one that was offered to Steve Guttenberg. I became friends with the director of La Valantula afterwards because of that, specifically because I was like, oh, Steve Guttenberg's in this, let me watch it. I'm like, well, this is wacky, and I gave it a good review, and yeah. But anyways, that is a interesting little factoid. Steve Guttenberg was almost the lead in Sharknado. But maybe next time. I think he was in Sharknado 2, if I remember correctly. I was looking up little factoids. I haven't watched any of the sequels. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll have to find out next year for Shark Week. But let's keep this train chugging along. One more round. Can we please, Killer Kelli, let these people know what time it is?
It is Up from the Depths time, 1979. This is a Roger Corman produced movie right after Jaws came out, right after Piranha, when people were trying to capitalize on that whole, shark, fish, nautical fucking creature movies. Directed by Charles Griffith, which also worked with him on Little Shop of Horrors, Death Race, and Bucket of Blood. So yeah, you expect with these two, you'd expect something amazing. This was fun. I wouldn't call it amazing though. All right. Fucking yeah, Up from the Depths. this basically starts out, this girl, she's scuba diving and shit, she's underwater. It starts out with gore right off the rip. Like, she's scuba diving and you see some, like, slight tremors and then a whole bunch of blood. Like, girl's obviously eaten by some sort of shark creature or something underneath there. A guy up on land, you know, he sees all the blood and he, you know, instantly reports the scuba diver missing. So, this is taking place outside of a resort in Maui, Hawaii. Soon after that, in the resort, like, people are just fucking dying and shit. Like, there's random attacks, like, from the water, and people are like, what's going on? This is a shark. And, you know, like Jaws, rather than clearing out the place, the owner of the resort just thinks it's somebody trying to make him look bad. Like, we got to keep this going. We got to keep up business in this place. We can't, like, close the beach and shit like that, just like Jaws, you know. But, anyway, fucking shark just starts eating more and more people, and the owner of this, like, resort, he kind of puts this, like... He puts this, like, ransom, whoever can bring him the shark's head, like, you know, gets, like, a free week stay and a bunch of money or some shit. So you get all these idiots just out there trying to kill this thing, and they're just... It's not exactly a shark. What it is there's an underground earthquake, and it kind of awoken this prehistoric fish-like thing, which actually looks like one of those, like, deep underwater, like, anglerfish. And you can tell it's practical effects. It's 1979. Like, the fish is so silly looking, but it's great. Like, I really enjoyed this. Reading about this movie, apparently there was all kinds of shit that went wrong, like, during the filming of it. They lost a lot of the audio, so most of it's dubbed over, and I guess, like, all the actors were taken back trying to remember what they said when they were dubbing over it. So you can tell, like their lips aren't even matching what's being said in the movie. There was a guy apparently driving this giant fish, like, with a joystick, and it had, like, one side that was open. They filmed it in the Philippines, and I guess he fell out and landed on a lionfish and almost died. Like, really toxic fucking lionfish. What else? There was one more thing. It was... yeah, man, there's everything. There's a lot of bad... there are some bad, like, racial stereotypes, like an Asian guy, like, you know, with the samurai sword. This is meant to be more of a comedy. But, like, I guess after filming, Corman fucking decided that it needed more gore. So they went back and filmed, like, scenes with more gore that was... I don't know, man. You can tell it wasn't supposed to be in there in the first place. The movie's fucking silly, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. The dialogue is silly as shit. Like, just some of the lines that you're like, what? It's like, oh yeah, I found an arm. I got it in there on ice. Like, it's in the freezer. I don't know, man. There's lots of boobs, lots of gore, so it is rated R. It's silly as shit. I would recommend it. I gave it a 3, although it has some pretty terrible reviews up on all these reviewing sites, but I don't know. I thought it was fun, and, like, just seeing them try to capitalize, like, on the whole Jaws thing when that came out. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. You can watch this on YouTube. It's not streaming on any apps anywhere that I've seen.
That is pretty wild that it's not streaming on any of the free apps, but, you know, go check it out on YouTube. What was the star rating again?
I gave it a 3.
3.
Yeah.
Fun times. Definitely fun times. Have you seen this one, Chris?
I've not. I do have a DVD copy in it, one of those, like, cult drive-in double packs, but I've never gotten around to watching it. I may now. Definitely.
The cover is better. I will say that. Like, the actual art, because the cover art is badass on this. The movie's silly, but it's worth a watch. You'll like it, Chris.
Fair enough. Sometimes we need silly shark movies with lots of gore and boobs to get us through the day. Check that one out on YouTube. Oh my god, I'm getting new names messed up. Ruthless. Mr. Ruthless Chris. What do you got for us next?
So, this one I went into expecting dog shit. It has a lot of that in it, but this had a lot more going on than I even could have imagined signing up for when I put it on. This was called Bad CGI Sharks, right? It's directed by someone that goes by Mama Jama. Majame or M-A. Mama Jama. Only movie they've ever made. This is very low budget. What you have is a business-minded brother being sent his like stoner hippie brother by his parents to live with him out in California because he's getting booted out. They used to be best friends as kids, and they've estranged because one like wanted a business and one like was like, I'm gonna smoke pot all day and play hacky sack in the driveway. And it starts out like any sharksploitation movie would start out. But what this actually is a meta send up to sharksploitation, and it's actually very smart. It has a good sense of humor to it. There's a lot of like it lives up to the bad CGI shark name. Like it starts off with like a decently bad shark floating around that is that is like a CGI shark, and that's what it is in the world. Like it's connected to the internet and shit. And it's like trying to take over, but then like really weird cartoony ones come in later that are even worse that he spawns after he connects to like a mainframe. The shark at one point, I just have to talk about this part because it made me laugh so hard. So he's like in the world, he is a CGI shark. Even when they see him, he's a floating. It doesn't have to be in water. It literally is swimming. Like in the opening scene, it literally kills someone that's in their bed, and you like they're fucking, and you see a shark fin come up around the bed, and the shark is under a fucking blanket, like it's trying to be a ghost. But it's a shark under a blanket. Like you can see fins and the whole nine. And like that was like cold open, and I was like, all right, I'm in. But then it gets like super meta, super funny. But the shark, it's like it wants to collect all the knowledge it can, so it goes to this hacker woman that like created him and has her hook up to the internet. And why it's hooked up, it gets infected by pop-up ads. So the entire like time it's like being updated, this entire shark is just, like, all these pop-up ads is its skin. And then it's like how much of the internet have you downloaded? He's like, most of it. And then like it just the CGI shark just stares dead in the camera and delivers this line in the most haunting voice ever. It's just so much intercourse. I fucking loved this movie. I like looked up to see if these guys did everything else. Apparently the Mama Jama is like the two guys who started. His name stuck together. They also directed and wrote it. I loved everything about this movie. I gave it 4.5 stars. Looked up a copy to buy immediately after I was done watching it. Like I was like, this is going in my collection. I think this is a cult classic in the making. It just needs to be found. Like this is one of those movies that like when I search for crappy movies, I hope to stumble on something half as good. I fucking loved it. So bad CGI sharks. I watched it on Tubi. Loved every minute of it. I'm going to watch it again. I cannot recommend it enough, but you also have to understand it is a fucking silly movie that does seriously, and the whole point is to mock bad CGI shark movies.
I had heard about this movie before you said that you were watching it, and I'd heard good things about it. You know, that it's really funny and really smart and well done. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking it out. I'm glad that it's streaming for free. Find a physical copy to buy.
There is no physical copies out there to where I watched it. I was so amped up by the sale. I was like, I'm going to start a distribution company. I'm going to start Real Violence.
You were too. I was there.
This will be our first movie. You know, like I was like, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to fucking sell this movie. I'm going to get like real copies of it made. You know, obviously, I'm not going to do that. You can only watch it on Tubi and Freevee and I think Plex. But I cannot recommend enough. Please watch this movie.
Well, you know, if there's enough interest in movies like that, eventually a physical copy will come about. So, you know, if we keep talking about bad CGI sharks, hopefully somebody will put out a physical copy, because you gave it 4.5 stars. and it definitely sounds like something that would be interesting to me. And I've read other people say that it's a lot of fun, that it's really smart and well done. So I'll definitely check out Bad CGI Sharks. How about you, Kelly? Are you going to check out Bad CGI Sharks?
Oh, I seen it. I was watching it with him actually.
We watched it on a projector in our backyard.
Yeah. It was nice. Yeah,
Even
it's
better.
silly as shit. I didn't. It's way more Chris's style than it is mine, but yeah, it was really smart. It was definitely. I've never seen anything like it. It was fun. It was fun. It was funny. It was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'd still probably give it a 3.5. You know.
Sweet. Very, very cool. Well, that's 3 rounds of movies we've watched. Now it's time to take a quick trip to, you've guessed it, Spoiler Town. And we will be talking about 1995, directed by Bruno Mattei's Cruel Jaws.
And now for our feature presentation.
Goodness gracious gravy. Like I said at the beginning of the show, trying to sit through this movie made me wanted to drink. And I haven't had a drink in over 4.5 years. Holy crap. Yeah. I don't know what I was expecting. I was excited to watch this because Severin distributed physical copies of this film. I'm glad that I didn't buy it now.
I would bought it.
But for anybody not familiar with Cruel Jaws, it's exactly what you expect. It is an Italian knockoff, or I'm not going to say homage, knockoff of Jaws, which came out decades earlier. It was kind of like way after the shark craze of what the late 70s, early 80s, and before the CGI shark phase of the 2000s. Yeah, it's a huge shark terrorizes a beach in Florida, and the locals try everything to kill it.
This movie came out in 1995. Like, what a time to make a complete ripoff of Jaws. And what's silly about it is they do use scenes from Jaws 1 and 2. They use scenes from a movie called Blood Shark, I believe, and another one called The Last Shark.
Deep Blood and The Last Shark.
Yeah, Deep Blood. And then they literally used the soundtrack from Star Wars at one point and the soundtrack from Jaws. Like, literally use the music from Star Wars, and not like a background song, like the theme song. Like,
was that the ending credits?
No, it was like in the movie. Like, it was in scenes.
No, it was in the movie multiple times and in the ending credits. And
I definitely noticed it in the ending credits. I did notice the Jaws theme in this. Apparently, when I was reading about this movie too, Shout Factory was going to release a double feature with another movie in 2015, but they canceled it because of the legal issues with them using so much footage from the actual Jaws. So, yeah.
1 and 2. And recreated a lot of the scenes in their own way. Like, not just like, here's an homage to that scene. Like, no, here's that scene.
Yeah, it's the exact same story. Like, shark attacks and they're going to shut down the beach, but the guy wants to have his regatta,
Gotta have the regatta. Yeah. You know what's really funny about this? I don't know if I'm sure you guys picked up a main character looking almost identical to Hulk Hogan. But almost every character looked like a cheap knockoff of somebody. There was like the guy who looked like He-Man. There was the guy who looked like Jack Nicholson. There was a guy who looked like Matt Damon. There's a guy who looks like fucking Justin Timberlake. Like, everyone looked like, for it being a cheap knockoff movie, everyone also looked like a cheap knockoff. The worst offender being literally one of the main characters, looks like fucking Hulk Hogan. He has the mustache. He has the silken blonde Chinese hair. It's Hulk Hogan.
Speaking of apparently the cast was made up of a bunch of locals from Florida.
Yeah, so it wasn't even like non-union workers.
Yep.
Nobody had experience acting. I think that's incredible in itself. That the acting wasn't worse than it was. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as you'd expect from non-actors.
The mayor was a ham bone.
But yeah, I actually thought that guy was Hulk Hogan at first. I was like, oh, well, look at that. They got Hulk Hogan. And then you see his arms are, they are not pythons. They are like, I think I'm built bigger than the Hulk Hogan in this movie. Uh, one of my coworkers is like, "What did you do on 4th of July?" I'm like, 180 push-ups. Why? I just felt like it. But anyways, that's enough of me bragging about how many push-ups I can do. Let's get back to Cruel Jaws. Cruel Jaws. I think one of my favorite parts about this was the Star Wars theme being used multiple times, because I'm sure I'm going to lose. We might lose listeners for this. I'm not a fan of Star Wars, so anytime somebody can make fun of that movie and what it did to this country, America was destroyed by Star Wars. The only reason I hate white men is because they created Star Wars.
Wow. Some severe hate for Star Wars.
The opinions of Germ Teen Ripper do not reflect the other hosts of this podcast. I'll just disclaimer, because I am
so anyways, that was my only part about this movie I enjoyed. Besides that, it's really bad.
I think my favorite scene was probably them trying to pull the shark out of the water with the helicopter.
That was absolutely my favorite scene too.
Yes,
They get in a helicopter. They take what is probably like a 5-pound piece of beef, and they lower it down on a hook for a giant shark. And of course, the shark drags it down into the water. And while he's trying to shoot it with a very rubber gun that is like shaking and bending as he's using it. My favorite thing about it is one of the very first scenes, this character adamantly and assholishly is like, "It's a tiger shark." So the shark roars for some reason throughout the entire thing, but they never use any stock footage of a tiger shark.
It's all Jaws.
No, they use a lot of stock footage too, because they use great whites, they use makos, they use jaws. No tiger sharks.
There are scenes where you can clearly see that the fin is a dolphin. I don't know if you noticed that.
There were dolphins in there. The one man tried to poison a dolphin, a sweet little flipper.
Oh yeah, when the street toughs came out to get the Sarah or Sally or whatever, she was with the dude, and you get like 3 street toughs jump out of the car, like, "Come with us."
Well, but with the helicopter scene, just like Jaws, instead of saying we're going to need a bigger boat, the guy goes, "We're going to need a bigger helicopter."
Yeah.
And what's great is we did go see Jaws at the drive-in like 2 weeks ago, so like Jaws is like really fresh in my mind too. Yeah. So before that, I probably hadn't seen Jaws in like 10 years. So like Jaws was super fresh going into watching. This is not my first time watching. This is my fault. These guys all had to watch it. I picked this movie. So it
was a suggestion. Me.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it.
It was Kelly's idea to do a Shark Week episode.
Yes.
So collaboratively, it's both of your faults.
Correct.
I think Shark Week might be an annual thing. There's enough shark movies, God knows.
I will have to watch. I'll have to figure out other movies to watch, because I did not enjoy the shark movies I picked out, and now I can't watch bad CGI sharks, or at least talk about it. Maybe I will talk about it next year if we're doing another Shark Week episode. If it was up to me, I would give this movie 2 stars, just because of the Star Wars, poking fun of Star Wars, and just for the gratuitous 80s niche of the. I did enjoy the comedy subplot of, we got to win this race to save SeaWorld or whatever it was. I was like, what? How does any of that figure into, I guess the bullying and the mafia subplots were taken from the novelization of Jaws, but the poisoning of the dolphin, I was like, come on, man.
No, why? Why you gotta poison the dolphin?
It was dolphin.
It's pretty close to when they hurt a dog in a horror movie. It's like, come on. You don't need to poison a dolphin.
Like that John Wick movie, they killed his dog, so he destroyed the entire Russian mafia. I was like, I get it. Now that I understand. Kill my dog, you all die.
Totally understandable. But yeah, it's pretty much streaming everywhere. I give it 2 stars. How about you guys?
I gotta give it 3. I was entertained by it, man. I thought it was fun. And it's blatant off as it is. Like, how the fuck did you guys get away with that even?
They didn't really. Like,
No,
it couldn't
not
get U.S.
really.
distribution for a long ass time. I mean, they kind of got away with it. I give it 3 as well. Just because I like the backstory and how like blatant, like unapologetically, like I'm gonna rip this off, but now I'm gonna rip this off. I'm just gonna take shit from everybody. Like it took scenes from 4 different movies and music from other movies that were not those 4 movies. One of them being one of the most popular sci-fi movies ever made, and took the song it's known for. Children know that song. People on the street know that song because it starts out fucking Star Wars. Like you can't not know that song. Like 1995, who didn't like the second that started be like that's fucking Star Wars? You know?
Right.
But not only that, like every single scene had something to at least giggle at. Like anytime it was nighttime, it was clearly day for night. Like they would show the water and you could see the sun reflecting off the water, but they just changed the temperature of the shot to make it look like night. All the weird actors that looked like other celebrities, like the Hulk Hogan guy, the Matt Damon guy, all that. I really enjoyed the ham bone acting of the guy that played the mayor in particular. The way they kill the shark is so hilariously bad because they go and plant a bomb at the bottom of the ocean to blow this thing up. And the shark's following the guy who planted the bomb up to the top of the ocean, is at the top of the ocean with them, and then the bomb goes off and it blows the shark up. So everything about it is laughable to me. There's something to enjoy or giggle at least in every scene. So for that, I give it 3. I loved it. I'll probably watch it again before I die.
Fair enough.
I can see
Fair
myself
enough.
watching it again someday.
You guys can watch it more, and I will watch it less. I will erase it with my memory somehow. Since I don't drink, I will do something to erase it from ever watching it. Cruel Jaws, people. 3 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars. Watch it for free. Enjoy it. Although the versions you can find on Tubi and so forth do not have the Jaws or Jaws 2 footage in it.
I will say this. I discovered the high def remaster with those scenes on it. I found this out right before I jumped in, are free on YouTube. So it looks better, has all the extra scenes back in it. So watch it on YouTube.
Watch it on YouTube. But in the meantime, I would like to say that next week we have a guest, and it's always fun to have a guest here on Real Vile. It is filmmaker James L. Edwards, and we are excited to have him aboard. We will be talking about a few of his movies. Chris, why don't you talk about James for a second before we let all the people go?
So James is somebody, he's not as well known as a lot of filmmakers, but he's someone that had a big part of my childhood. As I've discussed before on this, I've always enjoyed the films of J.R. Bookwalter, and he starred in several of those films, along with the ones that were like, movies that were put out with people in a circle. I believe I've covered Skin Deep on here before, Bloodletting, a few others. So he's in those movies. He has sent us some screener copies of his new films, and we'll discuss the one he is currently filming. We'll just have everything James L. Edwards on next week. Look forward to talking to him.
Very exciting. Any last words to leave the people on our premiere Shark Week episode?
Practice water safety. Don't get eaten by sharks.
Watch bad CGI sharks.
Watch
Bad CGI sharks.
And of course, as always, I'm going to tell you, keep it creepy, keep it spooky, keep it real vile forever. God bless America, and send nudes.